Are you the parent or a caregiver of a child who's around 3 years old? Maybe they've just turned 3, or they're between 3 and 3.5, or maybe they're preparing for preschool, and you're hoping that your child will use more sentences. Well, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Amini. I'm a speech and language pathologist with several years of experience working with children and their parents and caregivers to maximize speech and language development. I have a practice, Smarter Speech, in the Bay Area where I do the same. And my mission with this channel is to empower parents and caregivers, especially of children below the age of 5, because this is when a child's language and speech are developing so rapidly. Little changes that you make now can have huge implications for how learning develops down the line. And if you can just make small little changes in how you talk and play with your child, then why not? So without further ado, let's get into it. How do you help your 3-year-old or around 3-year-old say more sentences? The first thing that I would suggest is to really have some periods of time, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, where you're using 3-word sentences slowly and in a targeted way over and over again. So this can be during a targeted playtime, or maybe during a time when you're doing chores and your child is right there. Anything like that is a good idea. So, for example, say that you are playing with a bus with your child. You can start to narrate using 3-word utterances. So, for example, the bus is moving. The bus is moving. Look at that. The bus is moving. Or maybe I'll open the door. I open the door. So here's my bus. I open the door. Or maybe she goes out. Ready? And now he goes out. And last, he goes out. So I just had a bunch of 3-word sentences while I was just narrating what was going on with the school bus. Some things to note. When I spoke very slowly. That was on purpose. I wanted to give the child some time to listen to me and to really internalize those words, really see the gaps between each of the words, and remember what it is that I said. Another thing you might have noticed is each utterance I repeated 2 to 3 times. The reason why I did this is because the more a child hears something, the more likely it is that they will repeat what it is that they heard. So that pausing and that repetition is very, very important. And third, I did not ask the preschooler to say what I said. So things like say this or can you say this are not ideal ways to get a child to talk because they increase pressure. And talking normally happens when a child is having fun, when there's no inherent pressure for them to talk. So me just commenting will increase the comfort with those sentences, and with time, perhaps they will come in. So that's my first tip, is to make sure that you're having 10 or 15 minutes a day for this targeted modeling of 3-word sentences. Any sentences work, like blank is, blanking is a great one. I am eating, he is eating, she is eating. Subject, verb, object sentences are also really good. So like I hit the ball, technically the ball, that's 4 words, but I don't count the article yet. I hit the ball, or I eat food, or I drink milk, etc. Those are great ones. Subject, verb, object, and blank, helping verb, blanking is another one that I would suggest. So he is running, for example. My next tip is to make sure that you are doing this during bedtime, because bedtime is such a good time to increase a child's vocabulary and to increase the length of an utterance. So they're sleeping on whatever you're teaching them all night long. So this same tip of repeating over and over again, of giving pauses between words and utterances, you can do while you're narrating what it is that you're reading to your child before bed. So if you're not reading to your child before bed, please do. It is a great way to boost just all of their learning skills. But say you're reading something and you've finished reading the sentence. These sentences tend to be a little bigger than 3-word sentences, but you finished reading the sentence, and now you're going to talk about what exactly happened in your sentence. So let me give you an example. So the boy is walking, for example, or grandma is sleeping, for example. Each time I turn the page is when I am going to say something. So the boy is sleeping. And then, I'll talk about this for a while, and then I'll turn the page again, and maybe I'll say the cat is sleeping. So every page turn, you should be saying one distinct sentence and repeating it a few times. So, oh, look, that boy is sleeping. The boy is sleeping. Did you see that? The boy is sleeping. And then move to the next utterance that you're going to say. So that's really effective because A, you're increasing that pre-literary awareness, and you're also just doing it before bed, which tends to be when a child has a lot of attention on you because nothing else is distracting them. So narrating in play and daily routines, narrating each page one sentence and repeating it a few times. And the last tip that I have for increasing 3-word utterances is something called expansion. If you watched my series on how to get a child to say more phrases, I will link that here, then you'll see that the way that you can help a child with making their utterances longer is just to tack on something to what they already said. This has them pay a little bit more attention because you're repeating something that they said. You're following their lead. That definitely helps. So let me give you an example. For example, if your child says red dino, you can expand whatever way you want. So maybe you can say, oh, that's a little red dino. What a cool little red dino. It's a little red dino. So what you did is you took red dino and you made it a 3-word utterance. If you want to do a sentence, maybe your child says something like, small dino. Good. So you can say, yep, small dino jumps. Now it's 3 words and now it's a sentence. The small dino jumps. Or maybe your child says, I want. Then you can say, oh, I want dino too. I want the dino. Can you say that? I want the dino. I don't wait for the child to say it. I just give a little bit of a pause. If they say it, great. If not, I don't worry about it. Again, there's no pressure that they have to say it just because I said, I want dino. But I do, again, if you notice, I said it a few times and then I paused and then I gave it to the child. So you want to say whatever your new utterance is a few times before you move on to the next utterance. So here you keep your ear out while you're playing with your child for anything that's less than 3 words long, and you just expand it. So maybe your child says that, maybe they say my bowl. So you can say, that's my bowl. Yep, you're right. That's my bowl. Okay, that's my bowl, and that's your bowl. Or if your child says, that's mine, you can make it, that's my bowl. So that's my last tip. So those are 3 tips to increase 3-word sentences. The first one is to target it in play or daily routines, repeating over and over again with pauses and with a really slow rate. The second one is to do the same during bedtime reading, especially 1 sentence per page, separate from the text in the storybook. And the third one is to expand. Take any 2-word utterance that your child says and make it a 3-word by tacking on another word. Alrighty, so that concludes our tips. I hope that this helped you. If you're concerned about your child's language development, you're really not seeing sentences even as the months progress, I have a few options for you. The first thing, please contact a pediatrician or a local speech therapist, air your concerns, get an evaluation, see if there's anything else going on. Earlier is always better. So that's the first most important tip. The second tip is you can actually, if you live in the United States and you are interested in public school, if you are really concerned, you can also ask for a public school assessment. So you can ask for a public school to assess your child. They'll probably assess in a lot of domains. So that means they'll take a look at cognition, they'll take a look at speech, language, all sorts of things. And if it turns out that your child needs a little bit more help, they can help you by directing you to some services, suggesting some things to do. So that's another option that you can take as well, is to contact the local school district. So you would contact their special education department to get an evaluation or to get more information on what to do next. But again, this is only if your child is above the age of 3 years old. If you're in the United States and you have a public school available or you're interested in public school. All right, so that concludes our tips. There's also some other resources in the description box below. There's a link to our mailing list with monthly tips free on how to boost speech and language. There's also a link to our ebook on preschool language development, a parent education course for preschool language development, and of course, there's a link to some of the toys that I used in this video. I hope you enjoyed this tip. If you do, please subscribe and please make sure that you look out for any other preschool videos on our channel. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching and happy talking.